You know that feeling of being recommended a new book? It's addictive. I can't get out. It's a rush of adrenaline seeing somebody else talk so passionately, speak so highly of a story. Then, you're intrigued. You decide to give a stranger from the internet all of your trust and money. Your fingers wander over to an online store. This is the beginning of a rabbit hole. You add book after book after book after book after book after book, and suddenly you're broke. But this Denton bank account has to be worth it, right? It has to be, because you're getting good stories, right? The sky is exceptionally gloomy today, and I feel like that is a foreshadowing of my disappointment in some of these books, but it's okay. We'll work with it. Boys and girls, welcome back to the program. Hi, hello, it's Allison. As implied by the title of this video, we are going to talk about book talk recommendations today. I have 5 on the list. We're going to talk about them. I just said that. TikTok is simultaneously the best and worst thing to happen to me over the pandemic. Like, I can barely remember what I used to do when I was bored before the pandemic. Does anyone remember? Between Draco Talk and unboxing hauls, book talk is the most consistent content on my FYP. And as induced by the consumerism culture on the internet, another ailment to boredom seems to be spending that dough. So I went ahead and got a few titles recommended from Book Talk, which is why this video is happening. And a disclaimer, because I will be going into what I like or dislike about certain books, there ought to be some spoilers, so consider yourself warned. And without further ado, let's head into the video. Book number 1 is the contestant that has made all of TikTok's readers cry hysterically, The Song of Achilles. This is the tragic coming-of-age story that surrounds Patroclus and Achilles of Greece. There is brotherhood, there is war, there is love, there is betrayal. This book has it all. If I'm not mistaken, Miller spent either 6 or 10 years, it's one of those, but then again I might be wrong, like working on this book, and I would say it's definitely worth all the effort and time you put into it because this book is so poetically written. You can visualize all the settings and you just kind of see the characters grow up, and it's just very wholesome. And of course, it's kind of tragic given what happens in the story. I wish I could experience a love this pure and wholesome, but sadly, this is real life. We do not live within fictional pages. The problem I have with The Song of Achilles is I was basically handed a coupon that guarantees I will cry upon reading it, but I could not cash that coupon in. I did not know tears were shed in the reading of this story, and that is the biggest letdown. This is the #1 recommended book on Book Talk. Like, I was ready to cry and have my heart just crushed and never recover from it. Like, let me sign a DNR real quick. Do not resuscitate if I code from reading this book. I had tissues standing by. I'm not even joking. When I read the latter half of the book, I was prepared, but it just wasn't as sad as I thought it would be. Of course, everybody has a different threshold for what constitutes sad or maybe like celebratory in other sense. And I think this is one of those cases. What is emotionally provoking for one reader might not apply to the other, or maybe I just can't cry unless I fail the test or something. We'll never know. Nevertheless, if you are interested in this title, I would say go ahead and pick it up. It is still a book that I would recommend to most readers. That I did not shed a tear does not negate the fact that this is a beautifully written Greek retelling worth your time and money, and hey, maybe you'll cry enough tears for the both of us. Now let me tell you guys about the book that had the potential to be even sadder, even more tragic than The Song of Achilles. In fact, the synopsis implies so, but it just ruined it for itself. If I were to cry, it's because I was so disappointed in this book. Like, I wanted to rip out some of the pages and rewrite it myself. TLDR, the themes, ideas, and writing styles were absolutely delicious, like heavenly scrumptious. However, the plot execution just flopped. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I'm just gonna go for it. This is she. Erin Morgenstern's book is about a night circus that appears out of thin air, and two magicians, Celia and Marco, were raised to kind of compete with one another in the field of magic. And honestly, the back of the book, the synopsis, sounds like this is a fictional universe that you can get lost in for hours and hours on end, and that's amazing. Of course, it helps sell the book. However, it is super misleading. I'm gonna insert the back of the book somewhere, pause if you want to read, but let's unpack this. First of all, there is no fierce competition between Celia and Marco. In fact, I hardly recall a time when both of them had to go toe-to-toe to see who wields greater magic. None of that. More importantly, I was under the impression that Celia and Marco knew they were going to have to compete with another fellow magician at some point of their lives, but that they would not know the identity of their opponent. And that is not the case. Truly, I think that would have made for a better plot, because then when everything unravels, when they find out that only one of them can be left standing, it is that much more heart-wrenching. You know, at this point, I'm just convinced that I want something to be heartbroken over. But no, instead, they got to know each other very early on in the book. They collaborated on schemes together, they ran the circus together, and they eventually just fall in love. Like, where is the fire? Where is the magic? Where is the competition? There wasn't even a developing arc of their romantic relationship. They just stay in love throughout it all. Like, sure, it's a competition, there's gonna be more or less a fallout, but it was nothing major ever. And the ending, okay, the ending is the perfect ending. I will give Morgenstern that. However, every single event that leads up to the ending, I can't. It's not a bad book, don't get me wrong. It's just a book that happens to have a huge gap for growth and improvement. And, you know, between the Victorian era setup and the characters' believability, this could have easily became one of my favorite books of all time. All time! On to more positive reviews, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. If you have been here since the beginning of this channel, you know that The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is the first book I purchased on my Kindle, and that is one of the best decisions I have ever made in life. I cannot count the number of times people have messaged me asking if I truly highly recommend this book, if I really think it is worth a read, and the answer is always a resounding yes. Any story that centers around a woman's life in pre-2000s LA or New York has my heart. You know, there's bound to be equal parts wild adventures and tragedies. C'est la vie. I have never ever read a book like the one I just described and hated it. It's just chef's kiss. To hell with enemies to lovers, this is my favorite trope. Just an independent woman who moves to the big city with little to nothing, knows what she wants, knows how to get it, and just does everything to make her dreams happen and make a name for herself. Like, respect. By the way, comment down below what your favorite literary trope is. I want to know. Evelyn Hugo was a Hollywood star, and in this book she basically recounts her life. She is obviously old now. She tells the reporter about how she essentially went from being a nobody to one of the biggest names in LA, while also detailing all of her 7 husbands. And people want to know, who is Evelyn Hugo's one great true Disney happily ever after material love? I'm not gonna tell you, but this book is absolutely a wholesome and scandalous masterpiece to dive into. I will be making another video about Taylor Jenkins Reid's books. I am currently reading Malibu Rising, so, you know, keep your eyes peeled for that. Hit the subscribe button if you want to stay notified. I think that's what people say. I have 2 more books to talk about, and I don't want to end this video on a negative review, so right now we're going to talk about the one I hate. And yes, I know hate is a strong word, but I had to use it, and also it's relevant to the title, so if you guessed the hating game, you're right. I don't know why the cover isn't showing up, but I'll insert a picture here in case anyone doesn't recognize it. Enemies to lovers is a very popular trope on BookTok. Everybody loves it, regardless of how unrealistic it is, and it is my personal opinion that the world would just burn in cascades of heavenly fire if we all experience romantic relationships in form of enemies to lovers. Now, I went into this book thinking it is some form of sophisticated romance about slow burn enemies to lovers, and I was gravely mistaken. It is anything but. The pages are a whirlwind to get through. The book started out just fine, we have our two protagonists, right? Lucy and Joshua, they work at a merged publishing house. Obviously, they're from opposing sides. They hate each other, and with a upcoming promotional opportunity that only one of them can succeed in getting, things just got heated. I genuinely enjoyed the first few chapters of the book. It was very entertaining, especially that little bit about how Lucy noticed that Joshua makes marks on his planner or something. I thought that was really interesting. But God, when that one event that turns enemies into lovers came along, I knew I was in it for a downhill ride. I braced myself, I really did, but I had to watch as our two independent, strong, and successful protagonists just melt into this puddle of clingy, cringy couple. Lucy and Joshua's relationship is insanely infuriating to watch unfold. One moment, Lucy is head over heels for Joshua. She wants to be with him for the rest of her life. The next, she is muddled in the brain whether or not she actually has feelings for the guy, and it all just gets... I don't know, it's just really confusing. It's Lucy's point of view in the story that ruined everything for me. Like, I understand there are certain points in a relationship where you might like double back and think about what you're actually doing, what you want out of this relationship, but she is taking it way too far and way too wild, girl. I hate to say this, but there was no climax in the story at all, and I'm not talking about it in the sexual sense because there's so much of that I had to wash my eyes out with soap. There was just no significant obstacle in way of their relationship that made them go like, oh, we can't make this work, so we're gonna go back to being enemies again. And then a couple chapters later, like, oh my god, I am so insanely in love with you, so I'm gonna do everything in my power to clear that obstacle and be with you forever, happily ever after, the end. None of that. Sure, there is that COO position that both of them are vying for, but it didn't quite deliver the coup de grace that I thought it would. And it's just so infuriating. I will not lie and say this book didn't get me out of a reading slump, but only because I couldn't wait to get going with another book. And the bone I have to pick with TikTok is they made it seem like the hating game is the ultimate enemies to lovers holy grail. And it is anything but. Everybody loves it and I do not, and I am starting to question reality, like I might have read the wrong thing. So from a genuine wanting to learn point of view, if you like the hating game, please tell me why you do in the comments down below. I really just want to know what went wrong with my reading experience. Why is it that so many people hold this book to high regards? Now it's time for the 180. What is the perfect book that embodies the enemies to lovers trope and even crosses over with forbidden love, you may ask? Well, the answer is none other than red, white, and royal blue. What happens when the first son of the United States and a son of the English royal family dive headfirst into a cake at a royal wedding? They make international headlines. Alex and His Highness Henry are then forced to spend time together and make sure they get photographed by the tabloids so that peace can remain between their two countries. And what happens when two people who hate each other spend an excessive amount of unnecessary time together? They fall in love! Again, this is unrealistic for the most part. Please do not project this in real life. I will not be held responsible for any consequences. Now, I say this is forbidden love because there is so much at risk here given their, international standing, and what with Alex's mom, the president of the United States, running for her second election. The stakes are raised. There is no other way to express my adoration for this book. It lived up to all of the TikTok hypes. This is the one I am most satisfied with. Every character is exquisitely crafted. None of them are one-dimensional. My favorite is Nora, by the way. And thank the stars, the romantic arc is actually existent in this book. The slow burn is very well done with precision, and it is richly rewarded afterwards. You will have to read to know what I'm talking about. It's like Romeo and Juliet, except less tragic and more explicit. Fair warning, if you are single, you will feel more single after devouring this book, and I am definitely not speaking from experience. So yeah, read Red, White, and Royal Blue if you're in the mood for some young adult enemies to lovers romance that is actually topping. Thank God I am done with this video. I am probably going to scroll on TikTok now and put off editing until tonight. We'll see. Again, my opinions and reviews are entirely my own. We can have differing opinions and still be civilized in the comments down below. Let me know if you have read any of these books. What did you think of them? What are other book talk recommendations that I should check out? Please do not say Six of Crows, because I have heard too many of those. A lot of people are just like, Six of Crows, Six of Crows. Just read Six of Crows. I know! As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you $1. And if you didn't, I'll let you know if I care. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!